I don't know, the frogs are going into, I don't know what the frogs are doing, but running away from the witches because we all want to kiss them, you know. Well, hello my lovely nestlings and welcome to today's video where I'm going to chat about the palettes that make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. The palettes that make me think of autumn, and it's perfect weather because it's typical Dutch autumn weather here, and that means rain. Oh, and we have a kitty cat. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Nikki. I am from the Netherlands, hence the accent. I'm also slightly orcish and relatively vintage, and I love makeup and spooky stuff, as you can see behind me. And if that sounds like something that you can vibe with, then this is the channel for you. Subscribe now, become part of my nestlings, because we are having a blast here on the internet. Let me also explain some things. The slightly orcish means that I have a light olive complexion, well, light, medium, warmish olive. Yes, I'm green, like the Grinch, which I will touch on a little bit later. The relatively vintage means that I'm 46. I also have ADHD and I'm autistic, so I'm the complete package. Yes. Let me explain why the Grinch is important, because actually that's what I have on my eyes. Let me get to the palette. This is the palette that I have on my eyes. The collaboration between Makeup Revolution and the Grinch. I have actually the box here, which is their advent calendar. The video is online and I will link it underneath the cards. So yeah. So I feel extra green today, but today are my autumn palettes, and I'm basically doing this video every year. I think last year I focused more on new palettes, and this year I was like, you know what, let me grab every palette that I have in my collection that make me think of autumn. And it's, I think if I counted correctly, it's 15 palettes that I'm going to mention today, and they just give me autumn vibes. Now let me explain that a little bit more. I am very much, my eyeshadow color preference depends on the weather, it depends on my mood, and I know myself, and I have different color preferences throughout the year. Do you have to know? Do you need to know? And I will always get comments saying you can put on your eyes whatever you want, whenever you want, and I agree. But for me, when we hit autumn and it's kind of, you know, I don't know, I want to have the candles lit. There are just different eyeshadow colors that I want to play with. It's just the way that it is. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, I don't know if all the palettes are still available. I have a combination of bot, PR, drugstore and indie. And mainstream, and that's kind of it. They are not ranked. It's not least favorite to favorite. I basically just grouped them together, made a pile. And that's how I'm going to talk about them, because it's just easier to grab them from that part. So, yes, we're just going to start. We are going to start with the one that I have here actually on top, and that is from Unique Beauty. It's also called Warm Autumn, so it's kind of, you know, a twofer. This palette was sent to me in PR, and the color story is just so pretty. Unique Beauty is a UK-based indie brand. Her quality is just top notch. I have videos with this palette if you want to see it in action, but it's just the complete color story. Yeah, it's just such a yummy autumny palette. The next palette that I'm going to mention is actually a drugstore palette, and I don't use this often, and I think I pull it in almost every time that I talk about my autumn palettes. There's just something about this palette that makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and it is from Makeup Obsession. It's the Feelin Spicy. It's probably a combination of the name and the color. Honestly, this is one of their micro palettes. The quality is very nice of these palettes. Now, the thing that actually stumps me usually is the shade Cinnamon, which you see on the top in the middle. It looks on camera, it looks a little bit purple, and when I look at it, it also looks a little bit purple, but when I put it on my eyes, it's not purple, and I think that has to do with my undertone. But this is just a very fun, cute, small palette that you can just chuck in your bag. It's matte heavy, you have two shimmers, but honestly, yeah, I think that the quality is very, very nice. And it's also, it's the names, a pumpkin, cinnamon, tasty, ginger, those are kind of what makes me think of autumn as well, yes. Then I'm going to go to a palette that I don't know if this is available right now. It is from BH Cosmetics, and it is the Optimistic AF. Now this one is a little bit more in the middle. So this one can also go late summer for me because the color story is just a little bit more happy. So it's still very fiery and gives me that warm and toasty feeling. But this is also a color story that is basically on the border for me between, you know, the end of summer, the beginning of autumn. But yeah, we almost did not have a transition. I think it was 2 days. We went from very, very hot weather to, well, kind of what we're having right now. Yeah, I love the color story. I think that the quality is very, very nice. So yeah, if you have it, I'll say pull it in right now. So the next palette that I'm going to mention is from a Dutch indie brand, and it was actually PR. It is from 50/50 Makeup, and it is the Autumn palette. And this one is basically permanent, and if it is not in stock right now, it will be in stock, well, soon, I hope. This is a color story that it's not just an autumn color story. You will probably hear me mentioning this one around Halloween time as well, and that's because of the names. But the color story of this, it's just, oh, it's so yummy. And that shade Decay, it's just very much a shade that I love, and it really reminds me of Death and Decay. What can I say? I do have an affiliate code with 50/50 Makeup as well, and that is Nikki 10. And I will link as much as I can down below. Next palette is a palette that is, I don't know, it's from Colourpop. It's the Wine and Only. Now, I pulled this palette and I put it back. I pulled it in and I pulled it back. And I was like, does this give me autumn vibes and basically the warm and cozy? And yes, it does. So that is why it's here. It's basically the odd one out, looking at the color stories that I have. But still. I think technically this is not an eyeshadow palette. There are pressed pigments in here. I can go on a rant about pressed pigments, but basically the generalization is that I live in Europe. For me, these are considered eye safe because the EU did test the pigments that they use, and they are considered eye safe here. So I just wish that the FDA would kind of hurry it up with everything, but let's not go there. The next palette that I got is from an up-and-coming indie brand in the USA, which I am affiliated with now, but this palette I did pay for, and it was her first palette. It's from Fantasy Cosmetica, and it's the Druid palette. Now this palette came out in, I think, summer around there, but there's just that. Let me also see if I can show you the shifts. There's just something. It's just basically the murkiness that is in here. The murkiness, and then, yeah, all the shades together. Here, this. If you want to see it in action, I did a video with this, but this is just such a stunning shade. And I would love to swatch everything. I'm not going to because it will take me eons to swatch everything. But this, it's just so pretty, and it's just it's a very dark and grungy, murky, green, purplish, reddish. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very, very yummy, and I think it's perfect for this type of year. For me. Now there are times when I want to feel like a swamp witch, and then I will pull this palette in regardless, but it's still very much depending on my mood. Yes, the next palette that I'm going to mention is a Drugstore palette, and it's from Catrice, and it is one of the 5 in a box palettes, and this is the Warm Spice. The quality of this is so nice, and this is just a very nice neutral palette, very easy to work with, very nice pigmentation, and yes, it's a neutral palette, but it's the warmer neutrals, and I have more warm neutral palettes, but there's just something about this being a little bit more of the, I don't want to say warm, yeah, the orangey, but also a little bit of red. I don't really, yeah, I know it's because it's called Warm Spice, that also in my mind makes me just want to use it now. I also like it in the summer, but there's just, it's the association that I have. What can I say? I think this is an amazing quality, and I just really love how it looks on me. It works so well with my undertone. It's not too red based that it makes me look very green. It's just very pretty. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is from a Juvia's Place, and it is the chocolates. Now, I don't pull this in often. I don't. And it's also an older palette. It's still available, but still these dark browns, I just think that they are so yummy. And while I'm very much finding my appreciation for neutral shades, and I'm loving neutral looks more and more, there's just something about the... I have to sneeze. Oh, Falsy still on? Oh, yeah. Oh, little. Anyway, there's just something about the dark richness of these tones. They look like our chocolate, honestly. So the name is very apt, because our darker chocolate looks like this, and then we have the very dark chocolate, and that looks like that. And I love the dark chocolate, the true chocolate. Not the kitty chocolate, the true chocolate. And this palette very much reminds me of that. And it is one that I kind of want to use right now as well. Yes. Okay. Next one is a palette that unfortunately you cannot get. We cannot even shop from her right now, which is very sad. But it's from Sigil. And this particular palette, it just makes me think of chestnuts. It's just the way it is. And it is the, what's it called again? I don't know. It's a toad. And it's probably because when you look at the card, it has a chestnut. I forget the name. That's okay. I also have a video using this one. But this is the color story. And it's just... right? I want to use this now. I've been opening this up all year round, but I want to use it now and not any other time of year, because now the chestnuts are falling. Now I don't know, the frogs are going into, I don't know what the frogs are doing, but running away from the witches because we all want to kiss them. You know, kind of like that. I just think that the looks that I did with this as well, I actually said so in the video that it just reminds me of a chestnut. And I think that's a I love chestnuts. So yeah, that's why this one is in the video as well. Okay, then I'm going to go to two palettes of the same brand, and let's start with the newest one in this line, and it's from ABH. This actually just launched because it's the Rose Metals. It just launched. I got it early in store, so I have a video up with it and I will link it. But there are just some shades here that there's just something about this that doesn't give me. It gives me again a little bit of the border, so. Not necessarily shitty weather palette, but kind of, you know, it's a nicer day, but already a little bit chilly, and I grabbed for this palette off camera as well. So this just needs to be in here. The shades that are in here, I don't know, I just think it's very deceptive. I think it looks very bland when I look at it. Well, not really bland, but almost boring. But then when I put it on my eyes, I'm like, me like it a lot. So that's why it's here. Yes. The next one is, it's one of the favorite palettes that I have in my collection. It's an old palette. Sometimes it's available. It was available on Beauty Bay for a short amount of time. Maybe they found some stock left somewhere in a warehouse. I don't know. I hope that she will bring this back and just, you know, kind of revamp it and bring it back. I love this so much, and it's the Subculture from ABH. And I know that this is basically one of those palettes that you love or you hate, right? And I very much love it. So yeah, I wish that I could get my hands on a new one, but yeah, unfortunately it doesn't. It still works very well, but just this color story. I love the pigmentation. I love the way it performs, and I don't understand why people are bitching about this palette. Well, I say that being used to indie eyeshadows, and especially the eyeshadows now are more and more pigmented. So I think that if she were to re-release this one now, well, newer, but you know, re-release it now, kind of the same formula, that it would be welcomed. way better than it was back then, because people just were not used to shadows that are this pigmented. So I had no issues whatsoever. I love this palette so much. It's still okay. So I can use this all year round. However, especially now, it's just very much something that I want to play with now. So yeah. Okay, next palette is from Ace Beauté, and it is the Classical Paradise. This is the new version though. I had the original version, and I also, as you can see, have the new version. I did declutter the original version because the new version just, it vibed a little bit better. I really like the quality. The only thing that I want to say about this palette is that I feel that the shade Soil should have been a very deep dark brown. That would have complemented the palette for me so well, because now I don't really, yeah, I have this shade Earth, but it's redder, and I cannot deepen these up. No, I can deepen that one up, but I cannot deepen that one up with this one. And I feel, especially to help to complement the shade Mineral, we need a very deep dark brown, like one of the ones from the Juvia's Place palette. That would have made it the perfect palette for me. But I do really love it, and it's just, I really want to play again with this color story right now. The next one that I'm going to mention is a palette that was sent to me in PR, and it's from Unearthly Cosmetics. Yeah, it's the Leather and Lace. It's actually one of the newer palettes that she released, and she did this one in collaboration with her father, which I think is just amazing. The color story right now, it's a little bit of the murkier, it's a little bit of the warmer, and it's just very much a fall palette for me, or an autumn palette for me. And I think that the quality is very nice. I do have to say with this one, the way that I work with especially pressed pigments, and not just pressed pigments but very pigmented eyeshadows, is I kind of set my base with the lighter shadow that I want to use, the lighter shadow, and I grab a bigger brush and I tap it on. So I don't go pack it on and then try to blend it out. This formula of this palette, if you have trouble, work differently. Don't pack on and blend out, but basically work like a paintbrush or like an airbrush. So you tap it on and grab a smaller brush, tap it on, kind of like that. That's how I work with shadows like this, and I just layer, and this palette lends itself very well for that. But if you just want to work like most people work with a color, usually they pack it on and then they blend it out. This one can give you a little bit of trouble. That's just what I noticed. The next palette that I'm going to mention is, I also don't think it's available right now, but yeah, I cannot help it. It still reminds me of autumn, and it's the Wilderness palette from BH Cosmetics. Now there is kind of an alternative out there from BH Cosmetics, which is their earthy palette, and then I think the biggest one, you kind of get a similar vibe. I do have the earthy palette here, but, and for me, it's, honestly, I would have loved to just not have that blue row. Oh, I forgot almost one. I forgot one. I almost wish that we did not have this blue row. But yeah, it very much reminds me of autumn, and I very much vibe with this color story right now. I am going to mention a palette that I actually forgot almost, because I have not played with this one yet. But if you want the Beauty Bay palette and you cannot get your hands on this because it's no longer available, then this is the one. This is from Beauty Glaze, and it's the Color Flame. And here's the color story. So let me hold them side by side so you can see. It's not a dupe for a shade for shade dupe. It's not. But you can very well see. I think that the one from Beauty Bay is a little bit, almost, I don't want to say richer in color, but maybe a little bit more murky in color. But they're very close. Yeah, so basically what you have in this one and not in this one is the very deep green and a matte white. that's what's not in here. But it's a very nice alternative if you love the color story. But yeah, as I said, I still haven't played with this one. I need to though. I just need to do a video with this, and I need to put it somewhere where I don't forget it. Next, well, actually the last palette is from Nomad, and it needs to be in here. It's the Hudson Valley palette. Looking at it right now, if you wanted the Beauty Bay palette more for basically the bottom 2 rows, this can be a contender as well. So let me hold up the Beauty Bay palette. Not the same, but similar vibe. This one is an amazing quality because I know Nomad's quality. It's a little bit more muted maybe, but maybe it helps. Maybe it helps. The color story, yeah, it's very, very much up my alley right now. Very, very much so. And I will link down below where you can find it. And that is then it for today. Those were all my autumn palettes. Let me know if you have specific palettes for specific seasons or for specific weather, or I don't know, feelings. I know a lot of you don't, but I certainly do. So let me know if you are like me and you have, you know, I don't know, you just want to play with neons when it's hot as hell outside. I don't know. Or with pastels when it's spring, or frosty shades when it's snowy outside. Let me know if you are like that as well. And then this was it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to wish you a fantastic day, a fabulous evening. May your foundation always match your neck, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye guys.